show blew up in my face. Woke up on the floor, couldn't take no more, my darkest day. But I can't lose sleep on what I cannot change. I chased the lightning, I got soaked in the rain. Danced with my demons till I couldn't see straight. Try to twist me, but I still won't break. I don't mind how far away.
Well, you said you didn't want to be on this show. We want to build bridges. You're like, I got to go. Didn't we ask him? And he's like, now he's been talking through the whole thing. And all we want him to do is be part of this show.
That's it.
How do we build a bridge with Scott?
That's me.
Yeah. Right. Listen, welcome into the bridge. This is the show where we believe building bridges is what's most important. He's Phil Wallace. I am not Kelly Vance. Kelly is she may be back. I don't know. She has been doing her thing over in Uganda with the school she's building and just changing lives around the world. We absolutely love her for that big bridge that she's building. But she's not here, so I'm playing the part of Kelly today. And we want to give a shout out to our good friends over at Steph's Bookkeeping Service. Steph's Bookkeeping Service is great if you need some tax advice. If you need, because she is a CPA as well. I don't know if she's a CPA, but she's allowed to do taxes. But if you have a small business and need bookkeeping, she is the way to go. So, absolutely, welcome back, man. It's been a couple weeks since we've been rolling because Kelly's been going, I've been going, you've been going. Things are good, right?
Move around. Loving it.
That's it. I'm going to grab my coffee. We want to talk about today how to build a bridge of inclusivity. Right?
So this today's show came. I got a phone call. I get asked to help out around the community. Absolutely love it. And it's an establishment based on acceptance. Yep. Right. So they have a large population of LGBTQ, some transitioning. Minorities as well, and the call that I got was that statements were being made, racial slurs were being made towards people of color.
Yeah,
and it threw me because in my mind, this is a place of acceptance, right?
Yeah,
no matter what you identify, it should be. Yeah, no matter what you identify with, it's been greeted with love.
Yes, and
to then find that. That same energy was not reciprocated, kind of messed me up a little bit.
Yeah. So here's the way we were talking about it in the green room. We'll use bridge building for examples, and we all have the other side of the bridge where it needs to get to the island that it needs to get to. Right. The island of misfit toys. We need to get out there. And
in the box.
And here's the deal. We used I kind of brought up, this is like you have unions. Right. So I've got a concrete team that does the concrete. I've got a welding team that does the iron work. We've got a rebar, right? And everybody's got their own job. Right. And we're very, very focused on our job to build this bridge, right? And this bridge can't get built without the rebar. Right. Can't get built without the concrete. Can't get built without the welders. But when I, as a rebar guy, when I see the concrete guy struggling, I go, I can't help you with that. Right. And as a matter of fact, I'm not only going to help you with that, I'm going to be like, those stupid concrete workers. Right. And not understand that when I'm having trouble, they're going, those stupid rebar guys screwing everything up. Right.
Things up.
Right,
we could be making so much more progress.
Yeah, hey, Scott, glad to see you listening. I appreciate that. Of course, he just ran out of here. But yeah. So how do we get this very complex world about acceptance and people and who they identify as, not even who they identify as, but who they are sometimes, right? Let's not even use identify, just who they are.
Right. I want to spend one more thing on the intro part of this, because me and Scott were having this conversation, and I think the part that threw me off was, like I said, it's been love no matter what that person identifies as, or who they are, right? So if it's a woman transition to be a man transition to be a woman, you identify as a wizard, kitten, whatever. Here, be that.
Yes.
Be that. But I can't be brown. I can, okay, can't you go to Hogwarts? You are a wizard. That is what you are. Cool. Welcome.
Yeah.
Come on in, brother. I'll play the Harry Potter theme every time you show up, but I can't be brown. How does that even cross your mind? As a person who's asking to be accepted, not accepting.
Yeah, and that's where I say that, and this comes from, I'll be double nickels this year, so what I would say a middle-aged white guy, right? Perspective is that I'm fighting so hard for my acceptance, right?
Okay.
That I'm going to be a bull in a china shop for anybody else's, right? Now, so a lot of it is learned, and a lot of it I can go, well, let me back up, and maybe I'm going way off base, but Magic Johnson in his rookie year made $300,000 or something, right?
Okay.
I mean, right, that was his rookie contract. There was a lot of money back in 1979 for the league, but now you have people who with less talent that are making $5 million or whatever the rookie contract is. So could it be, as we're building this bridge, that me being a wizard goes, listen, Phil, you had the 60s and you fought a good fight. So how did that work for you? Let us do our thing.
It didn't work for me.
That's right. But now I know a wizard that I watch what you did. You made your mistakes. That's great. Sorry, sucks for you, but we wizards are going to get on. We're going to get on the ballot.
And you are.
Yeah.
And as a country, we're going to be compassionate. We're going to be helpful. What else can we do to make sure that you feel comfortable on this ballot? And we talked about this when it was Stop Asian Hate.
Yeah.
Talked about this when Stop Asian Hate. It's like I watch people come to the rebar aid.
And is it
concrete time with quiet?
And is it that as we're building this bridge, is it the new noise? Is it, here's the new concrete team coming in? You know what I mean? Is it something new? So we'll hook a bandwagon to that. And sorry, you rebar people have totally been trying for years. Just keep laying rebar and good luck.
Right.
Because now the new concrete is I don't know. That's what I'm trying in the world of acceptance. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Right.
I guess, like I was saying, like I watch which team we go to help. Why not? If it's everybody's bridge. Yeah. Why not help the rebar people the same way we help the architects, same way we help the construction people, same way, like if all the materials are important and everybody's going to need to be on this bridge safely for a long time.
How is it that the concrete team can throw shade at the rebar?
How?
Yeah. And is that because I'm so focused on what the wizards, right? Is it that all of a sudden we slip back to going, well, this is what I've heard in the neighborhood,
right? But if I threw a party, if it was Yellow Brick Roads, right, off to see the wizards, like I want you guys here.
Yep.
Come.
Now, can I ask a question too? And this is for everybody out there. I just last week I was out in California for the National Music
Yeah.
Association, right? The National Association of Music Merchants.
Got some Roscoe's.
And it was cool, right? However, I made there was some good pop music, some good like punk kind of music, a lot of rock and roll.
Right.
I didn't see much country, didn't see any hip hop.
Okay.
Right. You see what I'm saying? I didn't, there was mariachi, right?
It's California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There was and I will say this, there was some good gospel, right? But I was kind of looking at that, and you want to, I'm walking through all these crowds and interviewing people, and follow 216 Creator Studios, a group on Facebook, and our YouTube, because we're throwing some really cool videos out there.
Nice.
But I'm like, I asked a few people, I don't see a lot of country folk here. I don't see a lot of hip hop people here. I do see a lot of what I go, I don't know if that's somebody real famous or somebody who still lives in their mother's basement.
You can't tell the difference.
Right? That could be a really cool old rocker, or still living in the basement.
Someone in an old rocker.
And I listen to the music and I listen to the lyrics, and because I grew up listening to hip hop, Run DMC was my favorite as a kid, and I got to sit with Eddie Martinez, who was the lead guitarist for Run DMC, and I'm just sitting here like,
right.
I'm like, dude, I still get excited about King of Rock, right? And so he, anyway, right? I digress, but the world of hip hop is huge, not only in African American, but in white suburban culture, and they pass around the N-word quite a bit, right? So if I'm listening to that all the time,
right,
and then is it easy for me as a white person in a situation, to throw it out? And am I thinking that's a term of endearment, or am I thinking that, hey, I can throw this out because I listen to hit? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Is there any of that? And I wonder if there is that. Oh, listen, I say these words as I'm listening in my beats,
right,
and then it comes out because I feel almost close to you, Phil, so I feel I can say it.
But again, the demographic of that room,
I get it,
isn't really Slim Shady's.
No.
Right? It's
Lord knows that. Yeah.
Theater, Dungeons and Dragons. The time that I've gone there, I really haven't heard hip hop. I've heard more like almost like a techno house mixing, and it was good. The kid was super talented. Like he did the event that they had, and I sat there and vibe. Like it was cool. So it's not really, Echo Sweatpants or South Pole that I'm seeing. We're like,
right.
I know the streets too, bro.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing that. And then at the same time, in the context that it was used, or what I was told that it was used, it was a person making a derogatory joke. So it wasn't even that they overheard the N-word in a song. Someone was listening to music, singing along, and then it just slipped. It was, hey, and then the joke was a GGER punchline. Right. And then when confronted, the person acted like they didn't know. Yeah, house.
I think they call it electric dance music, EDM now.
EDM, right?
So, I call house.
But the person acted like they didn't know what it was, and when confronted, played dumb and got called out. Hey, if you don't know what the punchline is, why are you saying the joke out loud? Why are you repeating it?
Yeah, and when they played dumb, they knew that you knew that. Oh man, I shouldn't have said that about the Rebar people. Right. Yeah, and that's a very tough thing when we talk about acceptance and building that bridge. Is we have a huge history here in the United States of that being a very comfortable description, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's learned, right?
Okay.
And with the wizards and transgender people. We're not quite sure. There's that uncomfortableness, right? Now the uncomfortableness would have been, back when we were trucking them in on ships, the African Americans on ships, right? Oh, a little uncomfortableness. We're not quite sure what's going on, right? But now here we are. This is 2024, and you would think that we have progressed as a society to go, no more N-word is. Yeah.
But okay, like in Florida, like, and I'm sure like, it was up here, like you throw a football in the air, you're playing a game called Smear the. We don't say that word. No
Queer eye for the straight guy.
A lot of
great show, by the way.
A lot of old vernacular. Some of them say tarded or.
I used the word retard the other day, and people were like, "Hey, you kids!" I'm like, "No, I'm using the word retard as to slow down."
But you can't say that.
I didn't say you are a.
If in EDM they had a term and it was whizzles,
mm-hmm.
and that was the wizard's N-word, and you were like, "Phil, not your word.
Right?
Please don't say it. It makes me uncomfortable."
Yeah.
There wouldn't be a learning curve.
Right.
That's just not my word to say.
Right. And is it hard for us, Phil, because we can't quite understand? You know what I'm saying? You and I, I think I've known you long enough, well enough. We go. Oh, it's not the issue that you said it. It's how can you?
Right.
Why do you want to?
I do not understand why do
we're all building the same bridge, and
why do I want to tiptoe to that edge?
Yeah.
Like as soon as you said whizzles is not my word, I'm not like, well, what if I said whizlay?
Right.
What if I ended it with an A instead of the E?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
No, why would I want to do that to my friend?
Hey, Sal. And if anybody's looking for a good mortgage guy in the Texas area, that's Salvador B. Lobos. Wonderful dad, great guy, absolutely love him. Just say you screwed up and apologize. They need to get educated. Sometimes we are just ignorant. Yeah. And if I'm a person who's involved in a place where acceptance and inclusivity is a huge thing,
right,
I'm going to be a little embarrassed and go, right? Well, I didn't, hey, because I don't want to get thrown out now, right? I don't want to get thrown off this job. I need this job. All of a sudden, right? But where does it come from? Where does it stem from? Is what I try to figure out. Is like, at what point did you think that was okay?
Okay, here's my question. Okay, let's take it corporate style, right?
Yep.
I know that if I show up, do-rag, 4XL t-shirt, smelling like the devil's lettuce, and I sit in my cubicle, my ignorancy is going to get me fired. There's a consequence to my level of ignorancy.
Yep.
However, you can come to that same corporate job, make a statement like this, and there's no consequence for your ignorancy.
No. Yeah. And that's yeah.
We want multiple chances on stuff that, hey, I knew this isn't acceptable. You knew this wasn't acceptable. You just thought people would laugh at what was unacceptable.
Well, sure. And the corporate world is so hard, right? Because we're going to go to the HR department who looks like me, middle-aged white people, and they're going to be like, well, I think I should say something about that. Maybe we should. How do we approach this? Right? Let's see what the HR policy book says about this, the guidelines on this one.
But okay, keeping it there. Statement was made. This person knows what they said.
Yeah,
they played dumb.
Yeah.
We're in HR.
Yeah.
You're telling me, Phil, I think you're overreacting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm overreacting. If that's what you're saying, I'll go have a seat. A week later, you get another person in your office who's upset that the bathrooms say guy or girl.
Yeah.
You'll accommodate.
Yeah.
You want to make this person feel comfortable, which
we'll put a half dress, half pants.
Which make everybody comfortable. But I watched you not care about my comfort and then move immediately for discomfort.
Yeah, and that's why I say, is it I don't want to say, I want to say programmed. Is it programmed into, especially Americans, right? Especially because again, I've and Midwesterners. I mean, I visited outside, but I've never gone outside of the United States, right? So when I say this, taking a look at the history of the United States is it programmed, right? To be quote unquote not that bad. You know what I'm saying? And Phil, yay, right? But to your point is, I've got a friend, and she's transgender, and it's a hard battle, right? And she is, the Iowa Senate's trying to say that take transgender, for discrimination purposes, say, oh,
Right.
and they're fighting to keep it on there, right? Amanda, good morning. She says, but if it's programmed, it can be deprogrammed. Yes, but what is the acceptable time for that deprogramming? Again, Stop Asian Hate happened very quickly and went through, and laws were moved.
Passed immediately.
Right.
Great speed. This is impressive.
Right. And likewise, for transgender people, and the question that I guess I have is, homosexuals have been fighting for their rights as well for a long time, right? And are homosexuals getting upset at the transgender people now, going, hey, we've been fighting, right? And that's what I don't know, right? Again, I can't really speak on that because I it just popped into my head, and I'm a curious guy. But but again, it's thank you, but we'll keep you down. But thank you. We'll you are now the doormat of every other cause. I don't know, right? So, and what does Amanda say? Amanda says, if we can remember and accept the evolution of Pokemon and their new names, we should just as easily be able to correct offensive terms.
I know who Charizard is.
Hey, right? Squirtle. That's it. And Amanda, understand what yes. For logical, caring human beings, yes, right? And I don't think that the people necessarily who are tuning in to comment are the people who are, putting people in this position. And it seems that way. Yes. And Sal says it's all about the economics and votes that make certain change move at warp speed. Unfortunately, here in America, you're absolutely right. I was at a community breakfast yesterday, a state of the community breakfast in a small suburban town here in northern Illinois, and I was blown away. I don't even know if what this senator represents, or what congressman, or whatever they were, represents, but somebody had asked about the money that was all the tax money being from these dispensaries. Where is that going? And he goes, well, listen, the tax money is going to free healthcare for all of the immigrants who are coming. We've had this on the show. They all get free healthcare regardless. And the reason that Illinois was the only state that did that was because the politicians wanted, because they knew in 5 years these people would stay in Illinois and become voters. And so he's saying, so it was all, listen, if you remember who gave you free stuff, you will vote for them. And it's all that is. And that's why Illinois was the only state for a long time. And now California is doing the same thing. And he goes, it's not about the human rights. It's not about, and I just thought,
yeah, they bought y'all with swag. It's just letters.
I like that just came out your mouth about this is your job. I'm like, this is your job.
He kept to the book.
Woo.
He kept to the book.
Right. So yeah, it's all about economics, votes, those things. It absolutely is, but it doesn't make it right.
No.
It doesn't make it right, and especially when that is let's use a different analogy, I guess. You're at church. We're all good Christian people,
Right.
right?
Except for these heathens. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden, hey, it's everywhere. But that's what we're saying. How do we build that bridge of acceptance and inclusivity when all I'm worried about is the acceptance of my rebar people,
Right?
And I don't care about your concrete people or Sal's ironworking people.
To go off of what Sal was saying, like, I have to also sit here and watch, like, okay, we figured out the free healthcare was going to be able to get these votes. We figured that Stop Asian Hate will get these votes. We figured that if we don't allow people to say anything about the Jewish community, we'll get these votes. We want everybody equal. LGBTQ gets these votes. What's missing?
That was back in the 60s.
What about my vote? Like, what?
Back in the 60s.
Why don't we do anything? If I was this letter and I wanted to prove I didn't have a problem with that crayon, I could very easily, hey, look, put this in place.
And so with the situations you brought up,
right?
What was the end result? What happened?
So far we have where I'm going to be bringing a panel in to have discussions with members of this entity.
Yeah, bridge building community.
To have the conversation, right? And for them to be able to create healthy dialogue. We want to make sure that it is not like an intimidating type of conversation, but like, let's have a discussion, because you're not gonna be able to change everybody's mind.
Correct.
One of the things that we did discuss was similar to what we talked about when the lady wouldn't shake my hand in here, was not being afraid to make hateful people uncomfortable, calling it out. Hey, what was this? Right? We don't do that here, blah, blah, blah. So that it's known, no one's going to laugh with you. Yeah. No one's going to co-sign it. It's not welcome here. You can do that outside. I can't control what you do. But here, I don't make jokes on this. This doesn't make jokes on that. We don't do that here. Yeah. That is going to be the new policy. It can't just be, you can't say anything about this group, but you can say whatever you want to about this group. We're all in here. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the right step and a first step. Now, that doesn't mean that person will show up, right?
Right.
I mean, so even though it's a great first move, what I want people to understand is the person who started the dominoes falling may go, I ain't got time for this. And not be there, right? Now, again, it's the little kid throwing the starfish back in the sea, and the old man says, well, you can't save them all. He goes, yeah, but I can save this one. Right? And it's about having to Amanda's point, it's about reprogramming. It's about having those conversations, so hey, that doesn't happen again, and that you can pass it on to the next domino. Yeah. Right. So I love that the bridge that you guys are building there. But again, it doesn't mean that concrete worker is going to be there.
But okay, so let's say that we got a chance to go speak at McHenry High School.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are 10 kids who are just 60s Alabama racist. You're just not going to change them. They are just to the core Confederate overalls. Like they're just there. Cool. I don't need for the 10 to be there. I need for the rest of the school to be there. And the rest of the school to decide if they make a comment, we're not going to laugh. We're going to shut it down. We're going to call them out. We're going to make them uncomfortable. We're not going to point fingers at the nerdy kid. We're not going to point fingers at the other N-word. We are going to shut it down. If that's the trade-off, I'm cool with that. Yeah. Yeah. Because then the fire doesn't have the oxygen.
Right.
It's going to die down.
Sal, says, when I was younger, when I was a young warthog, sorry, when I was younger, I made a very derogatory comment. Well, actually 2 or 3 times without now realizing that I was doing it. I was corrected. I apologized to the person. Then I intentionally tried hard not to say it, and I actually stopped quickly and would correct my friends that would say do the same thing. That it was who thought it was still fine.
Right.
We were just ignorant, shy town living. Yeah, and that's why I love when we talk about building a bridge. I mean, that's what Christ did too, right? Christ's like, hey, I'm going to walk and I'll shut it down. Hey, take the log out of your eye before you try to remove the splinter out of your brother's, right? And I think that's where a lot of that change of reprogramming has come. Is yes, I stood there with dressed like a ghost, on Halloween in the 70s, saying, hey, we can't talk like this. Right. So the words that were coming out of my mouth weren't always reflecting the actions that were coming from Kent. And to your point is that there is that, right? I mean, there's through the years that we've been doing this, Phil, the last 4 years we've been doing this as a kid who grew up in Iowa, right? There's been a lot of, looking back on the way that I was raised, the way that the cities were run, you know what I'm saying? I was like, and so the very interesting part was what I grew up as I thought was normal.
Right.
Now that I've been able to reflect, going, right, it makes me kind of go, wait a minute. Where people have said, I can't believe you agree. Are you like? I'm like, think about this. Let's the picture in the book is the picture in the book. How you color it is different. Right?
Picture's still gonna stay the same.
Picture's still the same. Right? I can paint Bugs Bunny green. It's still Bugs Bunny.
We know who Bugs is.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of that learning goes from we shame on you, go clean your room. Right. So now I've got to go and say, it's bad, I shouldn't do it. Meanwhile, as I pull away, right. It also comes down to our actions as parents, the movies our kids watch, music we allow them to listen to, people we choose to socialize with, the most Sal says. Yeah. And I would like to think that we're getting better, right? I would like to think that we're getting better. I tell my kids, and this is who I am. I'm like, listen, if they're good, I don't care if they're wizards. I don't care if they're African American, Asian Americans. I don't care if they're white. I don't care if they're green. Whatever the case may be. Right. Here's the deal. If they're good people, love them. If they're dicks, love them. Right? I mean, that's the way. If you're good to me, I'm gonna be good to you. If you're a jerk, I ain't got time for you. Right? And so it doesn't matter what your gender is, what your ethnicity is. If you're a good person, I absolutely love you. Right? And I'm a weird one. But that's the way I raise my kids. So as you talk about parenting, right? I do know the music that my kids listen to, right? And there are conversations like, because I have daughters, right? And I'm like, are you listening to the words of this song? I mean, are you listening?
You get what they're saying,
right? Because if I can understand the words of this song,
I would think,
right.
Well, go ahead, if you're in.
Yeah. What if you are not? What if we don't get to them first?
I mean, then you got to be having those conversations. And we've talked about this for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that you're having those conversations at home with your kids to make sure they're good. What if you're not the one that is good to others?
Right. So here's what a lot of people don't understand, and maybe are starting to understand. And here, let me give you an exercise to try. Okay. You get more than 6 people standing and holding hands. Okay. and you start with your left hand, and I squeeze your hand lightly. Okay, and the idea is, we want to pass the same pressure around to get back to my right hand.
Right.
So I squeeze lightly. By the time it gets back, it's a strong squeeze.
Right.
Right. So we as Americans, or we as human beings, not just Americans, we as human beings mimic. We mimic, right? That's what we do. So if you're not the first one, your children mimic you, right? As a coach that coaches sports, I show so they can mimic.
Right.
Okay. So if I don't get to them first, I have to go, who are they mimicking? Who are they getting this from? But I have to be present in their life. Yeah, sounds like that's gay, right? Only if it's just men and we're in shorts. Never mind. So what I'm saying is, but to your point, I grew up, Sal, we grew up saying that. Oh, that's gay. That's so gay.
But what happened when you found out that was offensive?
I sometimes still say it. That's it, right? No, I don't. You don't. You just catch yourself now going, oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
No one tiptoes to try to say, like, how can I still say this?
Yeah.
Can I say a version of? No one does that over there.
Yeah. So I've been trying that though, because that mimicking with youth, it's a great thing, because they go, huh. Have them start it out. By the time it gets back to them, it's a real strong pressure.
Yeah.
Right. But we mimic, and then it gets exasperated. Right.
Okay. So we talked about people, the movies they watch, the people they're around, right? Mm-hmm. When it's youth, usually in this case, you'll hear like hatred is taught. Mm-hmm. This is what they must be hearing at home. Mm-hmm. The irony, you're teaching hate against minorities. Minorities are making sure that your youth is good. Mm-hmm. You want your kid to be accepted, but you're teaching your kid not to accept. Mm-hmm. How does that work?
Yeah, it's tough.
Because you'll be the same person that'll come in front of the teaching board and say, what are we doing about bullies versus my kid who's a wizard? Meanwhile, the wizard is saying the N-word.
Yeah.
At that same meeting, the black kid's parents saying, hey, what are we doing about you guys being more strict about the N-word at schools?
Yeah.
Because if this kid's called a wizard, this kid's suspended.
I don't care. It's not my child.
But if this kid gets called the N-word and retaliates, he's suspended for retaliating?
Yeah. So I don't care. It's not my child.
Right.
Yeah. That's where we go with it. Like, that's your problem, not mine. That's my kid. My kid's a unicorn. Right. I got to worry about the unicorn. Right. And Sal said, yeah, I stopped saying it years ago when I unintentionally offended a good friend. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I forgave you though. I'm kidding. That's wrong. I'm sorry. So, I mean, with that said, right. It's easy with social media to stop it. And it's not pick a fight. It's just, you know what? I deleted it. So I've been friends on social media with this person. Know of them. Not necessarily somebody who comes over for New Year's Eve or something like that. But a good relationship, right? This person posts a meme. Okay. This person posts a meme. And the meme was like 2022, the year white people were never on commercials again. Something like that, right? I'm right.
All right.
And so I just said, wow, that's way wrong. This is my comment. And then I unfollowed and unfriended, whatever, right?
All right.
Because I'm like, I don't need this in my life, right? Because we've talked about that, and I'm like, now, I'm just like, wow, Now again, that's that. Hey, it's a meme. It's supposed to be funny,
right? That's the Tigger joke.
Yeah,
you know what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Even if you didn't actually use the words,
Right.
You know what you're trying to do.
So a way to do it is not go, look at this, right? Or I didn't take it to my kids and go, look, I'm unfriendly. I'm just like, listen, I'm not even going to show my kid that. Why plant that seed?
Right.
So it was, wow, that's wrong. And then see you later, right? Now, I've since seen the person. They haven't brought the situation up, nor have they said anything out of left field, right? When I'm around, but I'm sure they're probably on guard. But you know what I'm saying? Or they may not even know that I did that.
Some people don't even think about it, because I watch people who said horrible things give a hug. It's like, do you realize what you were saying during riots and whatnot?
Right.
What? All right. We're in Woodstock. Give me a hug.
Where are the Latino in commercials and network TV?
Man, you know what he's saying? So this person's looking at it and saying, this is the year,
right?
No more whites. Same year, he's sitting there like, well, we've never had a year.
Yeah.
My perspective is like, well, I'm here if you need me to rap or if it's an AIDS commercial.
Yeah.
We both watching the same commercials.
Yeah.
Same bridge.
Yeah. Same bridge.
Same bridge.
And that's where that acceptance as we build a bridge of acceptance is number one, it's education. Number two, it's being able to have a healthy conversation, not a fight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And not go, Phil, you're overreacting. Quit playing the victim. God, you know what, Phil? Not every black person feels the same way as you do. Here's 3. Why do I know? Here's their post. Right? I don't know them personally.
Look how intelligent and well-spoken they are.
I don't know them personally, but let me show you their post.
These Negroes that agree with me.
Yeah.
How intelligent they are.
And that's the joy of understanding artificial intelligence, and I don't mean the computer kind, right? Thank you.
Well played.
There we go. All right.
So on the bridge building part, right?
Yeah.
So in the discussion on how do we handle it, right? Because it was a meeting of 4 of us.
Yep.
And was like, well, because they're probably hearing this at home, we don't want to be too stern. And a lot of these kids who are making these comments are getting picked on at school themselves. Yeah. And it was almost like it's supposed to be justified because they get picked on, they get a chance to still say derogatory things towards someone else. And I asked a calm question. I said, do you? So because let's say a black kid made fun of someone in the LGBTQ community. Hold on. You want to read it?
No, you go ahead.
Oh,
it kind of goes with what you're saying.
They get a chance to say the N-word.
Yeah.
I was like, do you realize what's been said living in the suburbs? Do I not have a pass to just make these comments? You don't get better that way.
That's right.
Just spreading the hate. What did Miss Shulin say? Now I'm curious.
Pam says, I posted something on Facebook once that I did not think would be taken in a negative way, but had a special someone call me and explained it, how their take was on it. I felt horrible about it and learned how my comment could be misinterpreted. Thank you, PW.
That's my other mom.
But here's the thing. That person had a good conversation with you. My wife has posted something, and someone from the community on the bridge, she posted it from a mother's standpoint with older children, right? And it was the one where, I'm glad my kids are older, so I don't all I had to teach about were the birds and the bees, not the bees and the bees, not the birds and the birds, not the birds who think they're bees, not the bees who think they're birds, not the bird. And she came, if you know my wife, was saying, I'm glad I don't have to do so much.
Right.
Someone from that we know who's homosexual just started railing on my wife. How dare you post that? Blah, 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 blah. And if you know me, put the brakes on, Kent jumps in. Now I reach out to this individual directly. And I say, hey, call me. Let's have a conversation about this. Yeah. I think he stepped outside the lines, and let's talk. And the person wouldn't. Right? and so I was like, first of all, don't talk to my wife that way,
Ever.
right? And second, when you're ready to have a conversation about this, let's talk about this, because I don't want to thumb wrestle with you. Let's have a true conversation, right? And the person wouldn't. So listen, again, I was like, I love who you are because I've known you for a while.
Right.
When this person came out, we knew before their parents knew, right? We're supportive, love, no judgment. Hey, beautiful. That's who you are, and we knew that, right? Yeah. It's not a surprise. and so, right? And then, so then I was just like, okay, listen, I block you, unfollow you on everything. I don't. If you're not willing to talk to me and have an open conversation, I'm not going to thumb wrestle over text with you, right? Here's my phone number. You have it. I have yours. You call when you're ready.
Dude.
Right?
So when me and you sat down for the show, even the conversation that Ms. Yulin is saying, like there's love in the conversation. We talked about it. Yep. Despite your letter, my crayon, your crayon, I love you at the end of the day. We're not going to let you stop talking. That's mother, mom. We're not going to not have a conversation. She stuck with me. Do you think that people are moving, like you're saying, so focused on the rebar, there's not enough love in their heart to be like, look, although I feel this way about the post, here's my stance. Okay, I can see why Alice posted this. And kind of like we said, I can see why as a parent, you may not want to have these conversations. Yeah. Here's what that means to me, though, on my side. And that's the conversation that we were having.
Yeah. I think we get blinded with our own intentionalities. Right. And we've created an atmosphere in America, especially, where I don't want to build a bridge. I just as soon blow this bridge up and start over without you. I know we're almost there. I know we're 3/4 of the way there. Right. But this, so I think a lot of people who are fighting for that, right, and fighting for acceptance, are tired, right, because they've been sprinting really hard, right. We don't necessarily see the marathon that y'all been running, right? Okay, but because I'm out of breath, I'm getting frustrated. And I'm gonna snap, and I don't want to bring that to the table. And I don't have time to hear about your struggle, Phil, for the last 150 years. I'm talking practice. We talking about practice. We talking about 150 years. I'm talking about now, right? All right. Daniel, good morning. Daniel says that's 2024. A post shouldn't change the perspective of the way you see the person. Right. I think I'm following. That's facts. Yeah. I still see this. I've got all the love for the person, but until you're ready to have a conversation with me, right? I've got to protect my family, right? And especially my wife. You're not going to step that way. My oldest daughter got involved, because it was one of her friends, and and she even said to this person, like, hey, you. Listen, there's some anger coming from you that shouldn't be, and if you understand who my parents are, which I thought you did, because of their acceptance and their love, you wouldn't have gone that way. So I understand that you're very angry right now at a lot of things, and you're tired because you've been sprinting hard, and you're getting wrapped up where everything is against you, right? Yeah. They don't see that everything is against you as well.
Right. I mean, there's incidents and there's patterns.
Yes.
Right. So, like, an incident may be Michelle posted something. I was like, ooh, that's the incident. Now, the pattern is one of the most loving people I've ever had in my life, ever. So, okay, looking at the pattern, I don't have to come in hot.
Right.
With you, I don't have to come in hot.
Right.
The pattern is Ken's one of the most loving people that you'll ever meet ever. All right, Ken said this. let's have a conversation about this. And if you have that conversation, you'll find, oh shoot, I apologize. But you have those conversations where I apologize, you just apologize.
Yeah. I think let's see what Sal says. Meeting of the four of us. Pronouns can be positive, but most of the time we use the pronoun in a derogatory manner. Them, us, these people, they. Oh yeah. Or can they be taken a manner not intended? A very fine line. Yes. Yeah. Oh, them. Yeah.
Those people.
Those people. Right. I still hear people say the colored, so I laugh because it just shocks me all the time. Like, what? Well, and my response, because I am who I am, I go, oh, really? What color? Purple? What color are they? Green? Well, help me out. I don't know. just, and then the people know. It's like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that.
But what? Okay, so what? Because by now you should understand most people don't say coloreds. So they're not around people who are applying pressure to adjust their learning curve.
Yeah.
It does not take an extra 60 years to realize I should probably stop saying this.
Yeah. And it's shocking, right? So I'm involved as y'all know, I coach basketball. You coach basketball. We've done it for a long time. I'm around African Americans. I'm around Latinos. I mean, it's a melting pot. Europeans, not right. I mean, you name it. And I hear the N-word more than most
At a junior college, yeah.
Right. But I don't start. I don't start throwing that out. Right.
Here's my chance.
Right.
Finally gonna get a chance to do that. No. No.
The same is, and what I try to teach. So Lucy's a freshman in high school, and I try to say, I said, she talks about pronouns, she talks about things. I said, listen, I want to know the person's name. Just I call you Lucy. I call you Phil.
Not Black Phil.
Right. This is what I want. I want to know you, the person. I don't care if you're a unicorn, a wizard. I don't care if you're African. You prove to me that you're a good person. I will love you with everything I got. Right. If you prove to me that you're a dick and distrustworthy, I'm going to keep my distance.
You're unaccountable or rude or jerk.
And I won't. And I don't have an issue of saying, "Oh, you crossed the line." Right. So it is, you're in the gymnasium like I am. You hear, I mean, it's a term of endearment, right? In the community.
Okay. So I was having a conversation with the white lady. Same situation. Well, you guys say it, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, well, I've also overheard that when your girlfriend's walking to you, like, hey, B word.
Yeah.
And that's how y'all, this
correct
B word. I was like, do I get to be like, hey, B? Oh my God, no. What?
Yeah.
It's not my word to use.
Yeah, correct.
And I have no desire to say it to you.
Correct. And that's part of the acceptance, I think, is we can all be on that same bridge. We can all be working on this for the same goal. And it's not even staying in your own lane. It's understanding the feelings of the people that are on the bridge with you, right? It's understanding the emotions of the people who are on the bridge with you. It's talking to your children. It's talking not just to your children, to people. You have to be able to say when somebody steps in line. I was at a basketball game on Wednesday, and there was a dad that was absolutely just getting on the refs, right? And this particular school didn't separate the stand, so everybody was on the same side. It was just never good, right? And he's going and going and going, and finally a mother from the other team said something, and this dude goes, "Shut up." I'm like, uh-oh. Right? And then the husband jumps in and says, "Would you just tell my wife?" And then the guy behind me who's sticking up for his wife goes, "You're just upset because your team sucks." And now I'm sitting here, they're behind me, and I'm listening to all this, and I'm like, all right, somebody's going to come toppling over the top of me in a minute, right? So I'm just listening, and then they cool down after they yell at each other, whatever. And I go up to the guy who said, "You're upset because your team sucks," right? After the game, and I said, "Hey," I go, "I appreciate you sticking up for your wife." I said, "It was a really uncomfortable thing." I said, "But when you said you're upset because your team sucks, these young women out here are having fun and trying to compete in something they like. And whether they're, I mean, that's like telling somebody that their daughter is sucks."
Right.
And he sat there for a minute, and I go, "I'm not trying to start anything with you. I think the guy was out of line, right? But as a dad of one of the girls on the team that sucks, that hit me." And I go, "I understand you were heated." The guy's he's being cool about it. I go, "I understand you were heated. You had every right to be, because I was uncomfortable as well. But remember that you just said that about my daughter, and you don't know me or my daughter, right?" And he looked there. He goes, "Hey, man, I didn't mean it." I go, "Oh, no, I get it. But I wanted you to know how I felt."
Yeah.
Right. Now, you got to also keep in mind, I'm there representing the college that I represent. Right. I'm in purple and gold. I got it all here. Right. So that also tells him that, hey, if your daughter wants to come to our school, you got to be careful of what, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I could have as easily just not said anything because I was representing the college. But it hit, right? So I didn't confront him. I said I would have got mad too.
Yeah.
You would tell my wife to shut up, right?
Yeah.
And then I also went and I talked to the athletic director, and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm this way because this is who I am." I go, "Can I ask you a question?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, when the guys play, do you pull down the other side of the bleachers so that the teams aren't together?" Yeah. I said, "Well, Title IX says you should do that for the women too." I said, because there were some conversations and some moments that made me very uncomfortable as a visiting fan that we were all together. I said, going forward, you may want to take the 2 minutes to push the button to pull these out so that doesn't happen.
120 seconds is
But I will say this, if you're doing it for the boys, you have to do it for the girls.
Right.
That's Title IX, right? And he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, thank you. Thanks for the feedback. I'll take it." Right now, again, I'm wearing my college's, right, who I work for. So a lot of people would be like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." Guess what? You're gonna come to McHenry County College. This is what we stand for. This is who we are. These are our core values. Right. So if I don't live up to those core values in person with people, then they look at me and go, "I don't want to send my kid to that school."
Yeah, he didn't walk it.
Right.
He doesn't walk. Tying it back in, there's so many times where people either make memes or post or whatever, and I guess they're trying, I guess the kids maybe wanted to get back at bullies, but in the crossfire, minorities are hit.
Yeah.
That dad wanted to get back at the dad, and the crossfire, hey, you represent this.
Yeah.
My daughter was hitting the crossfire.
Right.
I was hitting the crossfire. And sometimes just shooting back blindly hits the wrong targets.
Yeah.
Got to be careful with how you're retaliating or posting or whatever the case may be.
Well, yeah, and I could have jumped in the fray, jumped in the foxhole, with the guys, you know what I mean? Got heated up in it,
Right.
but I let it go and say, you know what? But I had to address it because it's high school sports, for crying out loud. And in the grand scheme of things, in 4 years, for most of the bigger percentage of those two teams, they aren't going to remember this game at all.
Right.
Right.
But it's good that you had that and like Jay was saying, right?
Yeah.
Some conversations you can have. He was mature enough to allow you to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Some people aren't mature enough to have a conversation, so you just don't talk to those people.
Yeah. And I listen. Like I said, I would have said the same. What the guy was saying was uncomfortable. I mean, it's one of those dads like, "How long can she hold the ball?" And I'm like, "She can hold it all day." There's no shot clock. The girl's got to be, so the dad doesn't even really know the rules, right? And I'm just like,
no touchdowns. Sorry, that's the wrong sport.
That's right. Grand slam. That's awesome. So I think to build that bridge of acceptance, to build that, what we have to do is we have to be able to have that conversation, as Dan said. It's the emotions that got to be taken out of the equation when talking pronouns, when talking anything, right? That we're still getting used to everything, but you're right. It is when it comes to that. But the other thing is, when it comes to that, if it makes me feel uneasy, I've got to still be able to stand up and say, hey, that, not around me.
Right.
Not around me. And to build that bridge of acceptance, that's what has to happen more. Right. Because, the Civil War was right. 1/3 of the people wanted to fight. 1/3 of the people didn't, and 1/3 were silent.
Right.
And it was the silent that allowed it. Right. So and a lot of the silent, like, well, I didn't think it was right. Well,
so why did you say something?
Because you didn't say anything. That's what happened. So you got to be able to speak up and do that. But hey, just want to thank everybody for coming in. Stick around about a half hour. We've got Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse, followed up today at noon with Think Big, Go Local. Bobby Bainey's got a brand new show. She is a two-time TED Talk person. It's going to be just a killer show. We're excited about it. The Digital Boardroom Boss or something like that. It's going to be a cool show. We're excited to get that kicked off, and for the relationship that we're building with Think Big, Go Local. So stick around, more stuff to come. And of course at 3, we've always got on Friday In the Know with Steph and Joe. So for all of us here at 216 and at 216 Creator Studios, thank you so much for your time. Remember to keep building the bridge, and as Dan, just take the emotions out of the equation and have those conversations.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Love you guys.